this is ShockOne. You're watching Neon Owl, and we're at Imagine Festival. You!
Hey everyone, my name is Julie. I'm here with ShockOne, who threw down an amazing drum and bass set here at Imagine Festival out here in Atlanta. How are you feeling?
I'm good. That was fun. That was I never know how drum and bass set's going to go depending where I am in America. You know, like sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not quite. People don't really know what it is yet, which is exciting in its own way. But that was cool. People were super into it. I'm very happy.
Like dancing and jumping and everything.
Yeah,
you're having a lot of fun as well.
Always.
Tell me more about that. Like trying to bring you're originally from?
I'm from Australia.
It's really drum and bass is a big thing back there.
Yeah, drum and bass is. Like I think because we have a lot of British immigrants in Australia. Like when we were, invaded by British people, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of in the recent times, you have a lot of British. So I think we have a lot of British culture kind of by proxy, and a lot of American culture by proxy. But musically we've followed UK culture quite a bit. So, since I was in my teens, when I was going to warehouse raves, drum and bass was what was playing, So I discovered it by just kind of stumbling upon a rave where I thought there was going to be like trance music playing, but it was drum and bass. And by the end of the night, I was kind of sold. And it was kind of no turning back from there. And that was a long time ago.
In your teens.
Yeah. Like 17 years old maybe. So me and I grew up with the guys from a band called Pendulum. Who were also from Perth. We all grew up together. We all played in a band together, and then we all kind of discovered drum and bass together, and that's how everything started to happen here.
Yeah, that's awesome. You kind of touch a little bit on your journey there, like when you back when you're 17. You said you saw Pendulum and all that, and just tell us more a bit about that journey for you as an artist, and, all the way from the beginning until now.
Yeah. So I'm going to go right back. Got given a drum kit when I was 4. I'm from a very musical family. My dad's a sound engineer and a guitarist. My mom's a bass player. My sister's a bass player and a singer, and she also sings on a lot of my stuff. My dad runs a PA company, so I was kind of, by the time I could walk, I kind of knew what a compressor was or an EQ, and I grew up in pubs, and I was always in that life. It's not like I ever had a choice,
But it wasn't like you were forced into it.
Not at all. It's funny, I got a drum kit when I was 4, but I kind of put it down at age 10, and I was obsessed with becoming a professional basketball player, and that was, my other thing was just and I got, played at a state level and it was fine, but my parents never forced, they never forced me onto the kit. They it never got put away. And then, a few years passed and I kind of just found my way back on my own, which I think is really important. I was always just given, just support to what and when I decided when I was probably 15, 16 that when my high school counselors are like, what do you want to do for a career? And I was like, I'm going to be a rock star, and they're like, well, come on, not really. What really are you going to do? And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I had that kind of arrogance, but to be able to go home and then tell my parents that story, and for my parents to go, yeah, you want to do that? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Yeah. That is the reason I'm here, I think. That I had the support to just jump in the deep end, and I'm thankful for that environment, growing up in that environment, being surrounded by supportive music, creative people. Yeah,
that's awesome. I feel like music is often not really I guess it's like, oh, gotta do something more practical or make money, and I'm really glad that your parents were on board with that, because I feel like that could be a big, it could be a stressor sometimes for people, right?
I mean, it's definitely not practical.
It's not practical, but
it's not good if you want to be rich. I've lived a rich life. Yeah. I'm by no means rich.
Rich, fulfilled inside.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. That's heartwarming to hear from me. And then also, I'm curious because you also dropped a new album. Is it in August with Monstercat, right?
I put a release out with Monstercat.
Yeah.
That was with Coven. That was a single release.
Okay.
My new album comes out early next year. That'll be on my own label, on Dark Machine Recordings.
Sorry?
That'll be on my own label, Dark Machine Recordings. So I run my own label as well. And so that'll be my third full-length LP. My second one was with Monstercat and Warner. My first one was on an independent label based in the UK called Viper Recordings. So number 3. It's almost finished. I've got one more song to knock on the head. Yeah.
Exciting. That's really exciting.
We're doing this week anyway.
Yeah, the album, remember I read it talks about like the darkest parts of our human nature.
Oh yeah.
And creates a soundscape for that. Could you tell all about that?
Well, I mean, so the album's called A Dark Machine, and I haven't thought about it in so long. It's essentially, I've always felt that personally there's someone kind of pulling the strings. Your subconscious essentially. And the album's essentially about the conversation between that part of you that you can't have a conversation with, which I find really a bit of a paradox in the sense that, like, I know that there's a part of me that's influencing a lot of my decisions in life, and it's kind of hanging over my head all the time. But by definition, it's really hard to access that part of myself. So there was there was that in a nutshell, without going too deep into it. Just exploring that kind of thing. You know, my sister is a really great lyricist and wordsmith, so on a few songs it's quite, like on the title of the song, if you read the lyrics to that, it makes a lot of sense, and she helped me with that and stuff.
That's awesome. I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. And I think kind of talking about, well, this is like a little tangential, but I think, being an artist, mental health is really important, and it seems like, you've been in the game for a while, and I'm curious, what are some ways that you prefer to like unwind and kind of take care of that mental health aspect?
It is really, I mean, I have struggled with it, like with mental health over my adult life and stuff, and I think one of the things that I've learnt about creativity, and if you want to be a creative for an extended amount of time, a really big thing that I've had to learn is to how to have a kind and constructive conversation with myself, because it's very easy to fall into the trappings of your entire identity being tied up in your creative output, i.e. if ShockOne is making shitty songs, then Karl is a shitty human, or if I'm struggling to make songs, then I'm failing as a human. And I had to learn to make that distinction early on, that ShockOne is something I do, it's not who I am, and I show up and I do the work, and it might not happen that day, and I'm not going to judge myself for it, and learning to be a bit kinder to myself in that sense, because otherwise it gets, after my first album, I just couldn't make music for 6 months because I was in just a depressed hole, because it's just, I think people underestimate how emotionally, physically, mentally draining making an album is. And even being on stage, it is fun. It's so much fun. And even I neglect to appreciate that, why am I so fucking tired? It was only an hour and a half. So because you're sitting there basically being judged by thousands of people, being like, please validate me, please don't walk away, that's exhausting, and you have to put on this brave face every time you get on the stage, even if you're not feeling up to it, even if you are feeling like, the people here don't really like what I do. You've got to get up there and you've got to do that, and that can be really exhausting. So I think learning to be kind to yourself is really important. And to actually answer your question, that was a really roundabout one. For me, it's physicality. Surfing is my thing. Surfing is about the only thing surfing is the only time where my brain actually genuinely switches off and stops thinking about all this. I think just being in the ocean, the physicality of it, you have to be switched on, and that and being with my kids. When I leave the studio now and go home, it's very much I'm very much 9 to 5 at studio. When I go home, I'm off. Well, my partner would probably argue that that's not entirely true, but I do my best. Like,
Yeah. That's
to be
awesome.
present and not like, because I can be a grumpy prick when I'm in the middle of a creative cycle. So I try not to bring that home, you know?
Yeah. At least you're aware and
Yeah.
kind of like try to do your best with surfing and all that and self-compassion.
Yes.
Got that going on for us. No, I love that. And I feel like if you were looking back at your journey, is like self-compassion isn't something that comes naturally to artists. I feel like, right? It's, you know, like you said, like creativity and basing our value off of the output that we put out. So kind of like, what do you think are some other things that contributed to that, you know, where you are now in your journey?
You mean like having
just
contributed to that kind of understanding, you think?
like understanding, or just like, you know, being here and just like doing what you love, getting to do what you love.
Well, I think for me, the reason I'm still doing this is I'm still curious. For me, creativity comes down to curiosity. As long as I still have kind of questions in my head about like, what if I did this? What if I did that? That's where all my creative kind of spark, a lot of my creative spark kind of comes from. Particularly in the, I guess, you know, what's the word? Technical sound design kind of nerdy aspect of things, especially, you know, a lot of it's like, because a lot of the time you're sitting there going like, well, what hasn't been done? Like everything sounds the same, and you got to try. You're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel in a way, which is tiring. Like, and sometimes it's impossible. But you know, as long as I can stay curious and like, you know, feel like some days I don't have anything to give. Some days I just want to fucking quit.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like,
let's be real. Yeah.
You know, and then, but you have to just keep showing up, because I've learned that, I guess what I've learned over the years is that like, this is what I do. Whether I'm on a peak or in a trough, this is what I do. And there's no point like getting, I guess, melodramatic with myself. I mean, I have literally come home to, you know, and, you know, crying to my wife, I'm quitting music, I fucking hate it. You know, and she's like, okay, whatever, sure, Karl, like, shut up, eat your dinner, like, let's go to bed. And then I wake up and I go back to the studio the next day. You know, like you just show up. The important thing is to just keep showing up. And again, like understanding that, all right, you're having a shit day, call it, go home, do something else, socialize, you know, like one of the things no one talks about with this kind of thing is like, it's me sitting in a room with no windows for 8 to 10 hours a day. Like that's not a healthy environment, you know, and also like you know, learning to like not sit on my ass the whole time I'm doing it. And I've got like a standing desk so I can like be just little things like that. Because I know that if I'm not in good physical shape, I'm not in good mental shape, and just, I mean, I think it's just things you learn as you get older about yourself, and you know, and like not hitting it every weekend, like not drinking. So like, you know what I mean? Like now I don't like really drink when I'm on tour because I know it's just not sustainable.
I noticed today you had like 2 waters.
Because it's not sustainable. Like I feel like shit, and I know it's shit from my mental health. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a drink every now and then, but like when I'm touring, I drink a lot less. And
that's something that's the music industry. Like I feel like alcohol is so readily available. Artists get riders and things like that, and
it's very
people
easy.
are constantly like passing around shots and things like. How do you like balance like the touring life? Obviously, you know, everyone wants to party and drink and all that. Like how do you balance it for yourself? And again, I guess this plays into sustainability, right? Like
absolutely. And you know, I think I've had to. There was a time, you know, earlier in my career where I was just like drinking whatever was handed to me, you know. And then I realized that like for 4 or 5 years, I've been like hammered every single weekend, you know, because you're DJing every single weekend and it goes past, you know, the years go by really quick and you're like, and then you're like, why am I so like, why am I crying in my studio on a Tuesday? You know, because like your body's going like, dude, can you please look after yourself a little bit better? Like, you know, like, and you have to, I guess, hit those, you know, lows to go, all right, I need to look after myself. I know it's just part of, you know, age as well, just learning what works for you, learning what doesn't. I know people who can smash it hard and be fine. I'm not one of them, you know, like, Yeah, and like, you know, I got to fly to LA in the morning, and I would rather not be hungover on the plane.
Like tomorrow? Is this tomorrow? Or?
Yeah.
You got another show coming up, or what's that?
I'm in LA working for the week, and then like studio work, and then I'm in Denver for another Monstercat show.
Yeah.
Next weekend, which will be really funny. Yeah.
How long are you going to be in the States? Because you're based in Australia.
I'm based in Australia. I got in 3 or 4 days ago, and then I'm back. The day after the Denver show, I go home again. Yeah, it's like, took me 34 hours to get to New York.
There's no direct. There is a direct flight.
Not from where I am. I'm in Perth, so I had to go Perth to Sydney to Auckland to New York. I flew so far back in time that I went forward in time.
Oh my god. Time travel. He's a time traveler.
Or is it, maybe it's the other way around. Like, I think I flew so far forward in time that I went back. I don't know. I left Auckland at 4:30 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I landed in New York at 4:30 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
kind of get the time difference is a little trippy sometimes.
Cross the date line and it all gets wonky. Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up soon, but I guess how do you handle traveling and across time zones and trying to take care of yourself in that way when you're intense travel situation?
Well, again, I don't drink when I'm I don't drink at airports or on planes. That's the biggest thing. I don't eat plane food. I only eat in airport lounges because the plane food just fucks with you. It's poison. Don't eat it.
Hot tip.
I don't eat plane food. I don't drink alcohol, and that's about. Other than that, I hate it.
You hate it, but you love it.
The jet lag kills me, honestly. Like, I got into New York and you get like a day to recover, and you try to get back on track, but you don't. And it's when it's literally 12 hours difference, your body's your wigs out. You can have the melatonin and all the vitamins and stuff, but your body's just like. That's the other thing. Just sleep, man. Mm-hmm. Try and get as much sleep as possible. Sleep is golden. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that with us. We're gonna wrap up and let us know also what is coming up for ShockOne. The rest of 2023.
Yep.
Years to come.
So, what do I do? 5 Denver this weekend. Then I'm going back to Australia. I'm doing a arena tour with Pendulum, which is going to be really fun. Then I'm taking a couple of months off, and then my album will come out early next year, and it's probably going to be straight back into the grinder. So next year is going to be probably quite hectic. New album will be out. There'll be a lot of touring. Yeah, so that's the plan.
Stay tuned for that album.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging with us. And best of luck. We'll chat soon.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Thank you.